Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Kristin Herkstroeter, Chair of the Music Department here at Viewpoint School. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was standing in front of my middle school orchestra, and it suddenly dawned on me that there were 5 of us in the room with an autistic brother, and I was horrified. When I was growing up, I didn't know anyone else with an autistic sibling, and that's because back in 1975, when my parents were first figuring out that there was something wrong with my brother, the rates of autism were about 1 in 5,000. As you can see, the rate of autism has gotten much, much higher, and actually the latest statistics that I read were that we're at 1 in 39. Whenever I tell people that the rate of autism has skyrocketed, they say, well, there's different criteria used now, people are more vigilant about it, but that would account for about a 25% increase, not the 600% increase that we're seeing now. So before I go any further, I just want to make sure that everyone knows what autism is. And as defined by the Mayo Clinic, autism spectrum disorder is a serious neurodevelopmental disorder that impairs a child's ability to communicate and interact with others. It also includes restricted repetitive behaviors, interests, and activities. These issues cause significant impairment in social, occupational, and other areas of functioning. To me, the most important word in this definition is spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you have really high-functioning individuals who are often extremely intelligent. They might be socially awkward, but they live a seemingly normal life. They go to school, they go to college, they get a job, many of them get married and have children. At the other end of the spectrum, you have people who are completely non-communicative. Obviously, the needs of these two diverse groups and everyone in between is really different. So the trillion-dollar question is, what causes autism? And really, scientists don't know. They speculate that it has something to do with the environment and or genetics. But we don't know, and until we know what's causing it, it's going to be really hard to cure autism. As I was growing up, a lot of people would say to me, what's it like to have an autistic brother? And I always wanted to say, what's it like to not have an autistic brother? He's the only sibling I have. I don't know anything different. I knew that my family was different, but I really didn't know how. I remember when I was like 9 or 10, and we lived in a suburban neighborhood, and there were a bunch of us playing outside. And then there were a group of kids down the street who were playing. And I asked my mom, why can't they come play with us? And she said, well, they're afraid they're going to catch what your brother Olaf has. Yes, my brother's name is Olaf, just like the snowman in Frozen. But even at that age, I knew that you can't catch autism. Hanging out with someone who's autistic, you're not going to get it. You either have autism or you don't. About 4 years ago, I was in a doctor's office waiting room, and I overheard 2 mothers of who have autistic children talking. And one mother was saying that her daughter's friends, some of them weren't allowed to the house anymore because those parents were afraid that that daughter would start doing autistic things and would catch autism. You can't catch it. You have it or you don't. So I just want to make sure everyone here understands that. One of the things that I always found interesting and nerve-wracking was when I brought a new friend to the house. How would they react to my brother? There were those people who would pretend he didn't exist, which I thought was weird because he was right there. And then there were those people who tried, and when he asked them questions in high school and college about Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, they would say, well, I don't watch that. And then there are those people who engaged in a conversation with him, and my brother would get so excited, and he'd love when those friends came over. When I was in graduate school, I had a roommate who got along beautifully with my brother, and in fact, when he came to visit, they spent more time together than I did with my brother. She's now a special ed teacher. As autistic individuals age, their needs change too. Through the age of 21, the school systems provide services for them. After that, it's up to the families to find things, to find day treatment programs, to find group homes. Group homes often have waiting lists that are over a decade long. And one of the things that I'm realizing as my brother gets older is that the day treatment program that worked for him at 25 might not be appropriate at 45, and we'll see what happens when he gets to be 65. In 1988, I went to see the movie Rain Man. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the movie, Dustin Hoffman plays the character of an autistic young adult. And in the movie, he interacts with his normal brother. A lot of the scenes in the movie touched me really personally because there were things that I had experienced. I was the person in the theater that was laughing hysterically in some situations, and I was the person getting glared at by the other patrons in the theater who thought I was inappropriate. But it was either that or burst out crying, and I thought laughing was probably more appropriate. When I was in high school or college, I can't remember exactly, my parents lived out in the boonies. My mom and I had been away. My brother had been home alone. And we pulled down the long driveway, turned the corner, and there in front of the garage was a cop car. And my mom, of course, went ashen. My brother had been taught that when he was home alone, if someone was walking around on their property, that he should call 911. So he called 911 on the tax assessor. He also called 911 2 Christmases ago when he had just had enough of his 2 arguing nephews. I just came back from a weekend visiting my parents and brother to try to deal with some situations going on. And I can't say that it was an easy trip. But on Sunday morning, I decided that I should go out and try to help my mom out by raking the leaves in her front yard. And I had my brother help me. And honestly, his help was pretty minimal. And while we were out there in the front yard, he started saying, 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 2 = 3. And so on, really loudly. All the neighbors know their addition facts. And every once in a while, he would say, July 11th, 1976 was a Sunday. And he's right, it was. If you haven't yet met a person with autism, I'm sure you will, with the rates going the way they are. And I would encourage you to take the time to talk to that person and try to make a connection. And even if you don't make a connection, I know that that individual's family will appreciate your efforts. Thank you.